Hey, sports fans, or should it be media buyer fans? Welcome to another episode of the AdSkills Pro podcast. And I'm really excited because we've got a two-timer coming up here in this recording. We're going to touch on some really interesting topics. We're going to be talking about iOS. We're going to be talking about driving leads to sales teams. And if that's not a popular topic, I don't know what is. And I'm thrilled to introduce Brice Gump to our program today. And Brice, for those of you who don't know you, don't remember you from your first appearance, tell us a little bit about your type of media buying. What do you do? What's your agency up to? Who do you focus on and work with?
Yeah, so thanks for having me back. I'm excited to be here, and I started a media buying agency back in 2015, and we primarily run ads today for people who are experts, coaches, consultants, online service providers. So typically people who are selling digital products or some kind of service online. And we help them get customer acquisition set up using paid advertising. So we spend a lot of time inside of Facebook. We do a lot of Google, some YouTube advertising, really just figuring out what's the best way for people who are selling high ticket offers, online courses, or digital services or online services, and just how can they get new customers leveraging these ad platforms that are out there.
Yeah. And how have you gone, hopefully touching all available wood? We're seeing light at the end of the COVID tunnel. How did you and the agency go through the pandemic?
Yeah, so we kind of operate on we keep a small list of clients that we work with at a really high level, and so we were able to retain almost all of our clients through COVID, really just by helping them navigate the waters of everything that was going on. And so, what it meant for everybody was new messaging, new creatives, new offers, figuring out what do we need to do to continue to drive the results that we need to see, even though everything in the world is changing. And so a lot of people were still spending time online. A lot of people were still buying, but their motivations were different. The things that they were using to make decisions was different. So a lot of what we were doing was working with our clients to figure out, hey, what's changing for your customers? And then how can we reflect that in your advertising and in your promotions?
Yeah. And are you seeing like now are there any directions in creative or things that you're taking notice of more now, like as you look forward, as we look sort of, as I say, touching all available wood, as we look out of this pandemic? Is there stuff that you're seeing, trends that you're seeing, like in terms of creative or the type of ads that are working or stopped working? What are you seeing there?
Yeah, I think, on the creative level, we're creatives are still the creatives. And so I think, making sure that you've got really compelling copy, making sure you've got good headlines, making sure you've got images or videos and stuff that stands out is continue to be the most important thing you can do on the ad platform. I think one of the big shifts we're seeing is really just like what kind of offers people are running and how people are setting up the strategy behind what they're driving traffic to. Because a lot of what we've seen right now is ad costs are going up, and we're finding in different markets, people are maybe a little more apprehensive to make big buying decisions, especially with a lot of our clients where they're selling high ticket stuff. It's been a little more challenging to get traction with things. And so what we've been seeing is a lot of people moving more towards running sales calls because they're able to actually get on the phone, actually talk with people, versus trying to launch like a new evergreen webinar where they're trying to test it and optimize it, but they're not able to really get a lot of one-on-one feedback from the people going through that process. So rather than just seeing a conversion rate at the end, they're able to get someone on the phone, talk with them, figure out what their real objections are and what's really motivating them to move forward and move that direction.
Hey, Brice, and that's something that you and the agency really specialize in, is that driving sales, driving sales calls. Tell us, give us what have you been learning there, and maybe if you've got by way of example, like a case study or something that you can use to sort of illustrate this for people.
Yeah, definitely. So this is something that we've been doing more of over the last couple of years. When I first got started doing this, we've always kind of worked with people with information products, masterminds, courses, all kinds of stuff like that. And for a long time, we ran a lot of evergreen webinars. We run challenges, we do launches, and we've really seen a kind of a shift in a lot of our clients to running sales calls. And again, like I said, you get to get on the phone with people, you get to talk with people. You can adjust your sales, your messaging very, one-on-one basis based on who you're talking to.
If you are selling high ticket items, nothing beats a phone call, right? Yep. Or a face-to-face, or in these environments, a Zoom call, or nothing beats, no conversion is going to beat a one-on-one call. So it totally makes sense. But a lot of people have challenges getting, because I think it is a different process, right? With that outcome, that objective being a call. So take us through what have you learned?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that we've seen with this is really focusing on the offer first. So we have a client that we brought on at the beginning of this year, and they could not get Facebook ads to work at all. So they had tried a couple of freelancers, a couple of agencies. One of their big challenges was they were in a sensitive market. So their offer was totally Facebook compliant, but they were working with professionals who specialize in the cannabis niche. So as you can imagine, on Facebook, saying the word cannabis would get red flags, accounts shut down, and they just couldn't figure out how to get around that. And so we came in, and what we did was, first we figured out what are the offers that we need to run that are going to help drive these calls. And so over a 2-month period, we tested an ebook that was, supposed to drive people to calls. We tested a webinar that would drive people to calls. And then we tested a VSL, so like a short video sales presentation to drive people to calls. And so by focusing on that offer first and really deciding, okay, what is this thing that we're going to be promoting? How are we going to make sure that this is actually generate us qualified leads, is going to move people to the next step? And we're going to, rather than kind of having like a general ebook of 7 steps that anybody can do anything, really thinking through, like, how does this pre-frame somebody into the next step of the conversation? And then building everything off of that. What we're able to do is test 3 offers, and we found one just worked great. Running a VSL to a sales call was absolutely the winner. But we never would have figured that out if we had started with, let's say, just doing an ebook and then testing 10 different ad copies. What was more important in testing ad copies was testing the offers. And so the
style. So when you're saying offer, it's not only literally the offer of because the offer is a call and there's a value proposition behind that call, which let's put a pin in that because I'd like to ask you about that. But you're really looking at, hey, in this particular market, what medium is like for generating that call is going to work? Is it an ebook? Is that going to be the thing? Is it a webinar? Is that going to be the thing? And you found, and I think you mentioned, like, the VSL was a relatively short form. Did you say, was it like 4 or 5 minutes, or was it a longer?
It was less than 20 minutes.
Okay. So okay.
Yeah. So rather than doing a full long form webinar, less than a 20-minute VSL. And that worked best. And so it was really about just figuring out, again, who are the people we want to speak to? What is the result we can promise these people? And how are we going to show them that we can get them that result?
And when you look at making it compelling to get on a call, because, obviously there's probably other people trying to get people on a call. Was there anything in the VSL offer in particular about, other than literally saying, hey, speak to one of our representatives? Why was what was compelling people to get on the phone and spend time?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just being really clear about the outcome that you can deliver for somebody. So if you have a big enough result that you can get your customers, you can make a really compelling reason for them to get on the phone and talk about it being a good fit for them. And I think the people that we've seen do the best they're not sliding somebody into a sales call that doesn't know about pricing or
Mm.
doesn't really know what's coming, and they're just kind of getting on the phone discovery. By the time
Yeah.
they get on a call, they know exactly what you're offering, exactly what they're going to get. They know that you have a framework or some kind of system to get it for them. They see the
Mhm.
value in what you're going to get for them. They know more or less roughly what it's going to cost them to get this done. And they're
Yeah.
just getting on the phone to talk to someone, make sure it's a good fit for them,
Yeah.
make sure that this is the right move. Because if you're going to spend $4, $5, $10,000 on something, you want
Mm.
to talk to someone on the phone to make sure it's a good fit.
Yeah.
But oftentimes in these VSLs, you can be pretty direct about what you're trying to offer someone, as long as
Mm.
you're being very clear about what it is you have to offer. Again, the outcome,
Mm.
how you're going to help them get this result,
Yep.
and what's the value attached to that.
Yeah. And so, there's a real art though. So it's one thing in the VSL itself, like to be very outcome focused. But of course, as we know, our dear friends at Facebook and Google and the like, right? Outcomes is a great AI trigger
Mhm.
or for things. So getting how are you negotiating that value proposition to get somebody to spend 20 minutes to watch the VSL in the first place? Because you must have brought some art to that.
Yeah, I mean, we've found a few different ways to do this. I think one of the things that we've seen work best is really just kind of finding storytelling elements to get into it. So oftentimes Frank Kern has a great ad format that's worked great for us many times, which is,
Yeah.
here's how this person can accomplish this thing,
Yeah.
and you just kind of lay it out for them. You're not claiming anything, and
Yeah.
you're not using numbers. But
Yeah.
what you're doing is kind of leading with value and showing like, hey, we know how to kind of get you this end result. And if
Yeah.
you would like to know how to we can actually do this for you. We've got
Yeah.
a short video presentation that we put together. All you have to
Yeah.
do is click on the link, check it out. We'll show you exactly what we mean.
Yeah.
That has worked for us many
Frank
times.
Kern is the master of showing people how you sell them while you're selling them.
Yeah. It works. You're leading with
Yeah.
value and you're showing people. There's a lot of people who have problems and they're looking for solutions. And I don't think that's ever going to end.
No.
And so if you can show somebody that you are the person that can get them the result they want, and you have a proven framework to get them there, they will be very happy to at least have a conversation to see if it's a good fit. Especially in this day and age, like, there's probably a lot of people that offer what you're offering. But if you can do it in a way that people can clearly see the value, they clearly see the outcome they can get them to, and they just like you because you're a personal human being, I think that goes a really long way.
Oh, massively. And that really is huge. So there's a lot of gold in that. So thank you very much for that, Brice. The other thing that you've had to navigate, and a lot of agencies have had to navigate, is our dear friends at Apple, who really put the focus on privacy and what that meant in the shakeup for Facebook and what that meant for your clients. How did you handle that process? And perhaps even more interestingly, what have you noticed in terms of effects and how you've handled that? So I'd love to hear from you on that.
Yeah, it's how we handled it and how we're still handling it, because
Yeah,
it's still
right.
happening.
It's ongoing as we
We're
talk.
not through this yet.
No.
One thing I've tried to explain to all of our clients and a lot of people we've talked to is, I think iOS 14 is a single event in a greater trend that we're going to see continue, which is privacy. Google has already said that they're going to be looking to remove third-party cookies by 2022, I believe they said. So, this is going to continue. So, as marketers, as advertisers, we have to continue to adapt to everything that's going on, because this is not going to end. So what we've tried to get everyone to do is, first, follow the basic steps for what Facebook is saying to do, right? So verifying domains, using their conversion API tracking. Depending on our client and how they were set up, some of them did decide to do a full development custom build for all of their server-side tracking. Other ones, we figured out a way to get the most important events, leads, sales, booked calls, these sorts of things, sending that over. So that we're at least sending Facebook the data that it needs to continue to make optimization decisions and put people into the right targeting buckets.
Mm.
And then the other thing that we're doing, which is something we've always done, but it's even more important now, is like making sure that Facebook is not the place that we're relying on data, right? So Facebook is good for reporting. We want Facebook to have its data for optimization. We want to have our own sources of data. For us, that's oftentimes Google Analytics. That's using third-party tracking tools like Wicked Reports, and just making sure that we have a few places that we can really measure the results of our campaigns that are not Facebook pixel based. The other thing, the big thing that we're seeing this year is like CPMs are just way up. So our cost for advertising is up and conversions are down pretty much across the board for most of our clients. So we've seen people who are just seeing their CPAs have doubled in the last couple of months. And we're doing everything we can, focusing on what we can control, which is creatives, which is making sure that we're running really effective campaigns, doing all the right technical optimizations, doing the right targeting. But at the same time, like costs are up, conversions are down, and I don't think there's plenty of people who would say that that's probably a lot that's going on with Facebook and how they're updating their algorithm for things.
Yeah.
Which I think is also part of this trend that we're seeing, especially in our space with the online products. Is I think this is why a lot of people are moving towards higher ticket products. And selling over the phone, because if you were selling $1,000 course and your cost to acquire a customer was $400, that worked when ad costs were lower. But if you're getting higher ad costs and it's harder to find the right people through the Facebook algorithm, and your CPA goes up to $800, you're now not making that much money on your $1,000 course. And so what people are doing is they're either going high ticket and they're going $3,000-$5,000 products, or they're going low ticket as like a front end offer. So building some kind of like $47, $97 product, using that as a front end, and then trying to ascend people into products. And so again, I think with iOS 14, there's a lot of stuff that we can all try to do technically and creatively to adjust and make sure we're doing things correctly. But I think at the end of the day, like there's a lot of strategic decisions that are going to have to be made, especially in the industry that we're in. It's really, again, kind of going back to that offer first focus of like, what are the things you're going to promote? How are you actually going to structure your business in a way that, we're operating under the assumption that conversions aren't going to be getting much better. We're not going to be operating with the algorithm we had a year ago. And CPMs are going up. Like if you want to be advertising 12 months from now, that's probably the reality. So how do we structure everything we're doing now to handle that?
Yeah. And the pricing thing is a really interesting thing, because like I know from the copywriting end, the effort you put into making a $2,000 sale is exactly the same effort you put into making a $10,000 sale. There really isn't any more. It's only when you talk about, I don't know, Learjets or something, when you're selling where you've got things with really long lead times where committees are involved. Basically, when you're looking at the human, when there's an individual involved in making that buying decision, if you're effectively consumer dealing to consumer or dealing to founder or one of those sorts of things, then the price, of course, you've got to get the right value proposition and make sure that they can see that there's a massive return on investment for them in terms of what they're going to pay to what they're going to receive out of it. But that's often way easier to justify than try to skirt that line when you say CPMs are on the rise. The space, it's hilarious to think about digital space as being finite, but it is when it's competitive. Justin and I were laughing literally just the other day, with we love how everybody's talking about first party data. We've been fans of first party data since we call that, in our day, we just called it emails and names and addresses and phone numbers. But yes, funnily enough, I think that is a really good idea for you to be able to use those direct methods of working. Brice, thank you for that. That's really, really awesome. Can I ask you a question on the lead generation for sales? Something just popped into my head. What do you see where people are making mistakes in this generating leads for a sales call? Where are people stuffing up?
That's a great question. I think again, going back to thinking really strategically about what is the thing that you're offering in order to generate those leads on the front end. So thinking back to a different company that we worked with, we started working with them. And one of the challenges that they had was they were generating a lot of leads, but they weren't generating a lot of phone calls. And so what we did was we went in and we actually just took a look at what was that thing that they were offering on the front end. And they had kind of followed a lot of digital marketing advice where, someone says you need to have a lead magnet, so put something together. And they put together like a very generic, how to create sales proposals, templates. And what they wanted to do is generate calls with people who were interested in buying a sales software. So they're specifically looking for like high-level directors at larger companies who had a sales team. Well, who could be interested in a general template to how to create good sales proposals? Pretty much anybody, right? Everybody. You could have like anybody from the general freelancer all the way up to the highest levels. All people could be interested in this. So naturally, they were getting a lot of leads and not a lot of people were moving into actually booking a call. And so one of the things we did with them was like, cool, let's not use that. And let's come up with an offer and create something that specifically speaks to the kinds of results that the kind of person you want to be attracting is looking to get. And so what we did was we changed that to a case study about how a sales team was able to transform the results that they were getting by implementing a new sales process structure. So the cost per lead went up because we were speaking to a much smaller audience, but our number of calls went up dramatically. And what we were able to do is dramatically bring down the cost per call by changing the whole front end offer itself. So again, while we're huge into creative testing and copy testing and really making sure we have the right angles and stuff. I think where a lot of people miss up is they build the funnel or they build the campaign or whatever that thing is they think they're going to be promoting. And then they spend all of their time optimizing everything that's happening on the ad platform. And they don't ever think about, well, what should we be promoting on the ad platform? And so again, it kind of goes back to that, thinking about what the offers we're promoting, thinking about how we're using that to strategically, attract the right people. That is a huge win. And that's something that we've seen where you can massively bring down the results by just straight up changing what you're offering.
Yeah, 100%. And it's people are so scared to go to be more sniper than a shotgun. And that's our advantage, right? That is the advantage you all have in new markets. And as a media buyer, working with the client to say, hey, look, of course, the cost per lead is going to go up on this because we've got a much smaller pool. But let's look at what matters, which is the cost per call. And we reduce that down, then you're in gravy land, right? And it makes so much sense. Brice, we could be talking for ages on this stuff, and I so appreciate you spending the time with us. Hey, if somebody wants to reach out to potentially work with you and your agency or talk to you about getting more leads for their sales organizations and so on, what's the best place for us to send them?
Yeah. So our website is majorimpactmedia.com, and we've got a ton of stuff there. So you can find out all about what we do. We have presentations, on our process and case studies and everything you could ask for about what we're doing. And we also try to publish a lot of content online. So you can go there, you can find YouTube channel, blog, social media, all this stuff. And we really try to make sure that we're showing all the stuff that we're doing so you can keep up. Do it yourself. And then when you're looking for some help, we can absolutely help you. So everything is based out of majorimpactmedia.com, and you can find it all there.
Fantastic. And of course, as always, if you're watching this on YouTube, just in the description below, you'll see all the links for Brice there. And of course, if you're listening in a podcast app, bless you, and you can swipe and get the notes, and you'll see the links there for that. Brice, thank you so much for today. They're like some absolute gold in some really, really important topics for media buyers. So thank you so much, and we'll have to get you back for a third time.
Thanks for having me, man. Yeah, we can check back in a little bit, see how things are going.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. All right. See you. Bye-bye.
Have a good one.